Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Dion Brown, and we're here for Man versus Brand. All right, guys. So I kind of want to talk to you about a phenomenon that I have experienced, and that I think is one that is worthy of conversation. So we like to now in this culture talk about these ideas around being alpha and beta, gamma individuals, and what those titles really mean for us, right? And in a way, I think that there are really two camps as it comes to this topic. It's the ones that use the terms as a way of defining, naming, solidifying, and empowering. And then there's those who use it to weaponize, toxify, and to whip up a population of individuals in order to create a sense of superiority. Now, inherently, I think to be an alpha means that you are first, that you lead, that you support, right? That in nature, you find alphas to be the ones that protect, the ones that create hierarchy, the ones who provide order. In human beings, we used to, I think of alphas as the most successful, the ones who would then be deemed kings, dukes, moving on to presidents, leaders of commerce, leaders of technology. And now we know that that's not necessarily true. A lot of folks that we believe to have this sort of genetic sense of leadership aren't necessarily born to do it. I think some people are. I think a lot of people, this is a trait that can be developed. You can develop yourself into a space where leadership is your first instinct, protection is your first instinct, but not at the risk of self-sacrifice. And I think that's what ultimately is the differentiation between us and animals, right? That we have within a sense of community, a sense of our own preservation, a sense of our own personhood. And agency is important. So for the purpose of this episode, I'm going to talk to Alundas Havens, and he's going to talk to us about alpha influence media. Now, I know off the top it's going to sound like, okay, this might be some mansplaining. This might be some, but guys, I want you to listen to this because I think that when you look at the term alpha and you look at it in its most basic, original form, then really what comes from it is a sense of empowerment, a sense of self-ownership, and a sense of, like I said before, leadership. So why don't you introduce yourself to the folks, Alundas, and tell us a little bit about what you're doing over at Alpha Influence.
Absolutely. And Dion, you crushed it, brother, with those examples of the natural born leaders and growing up to be a leader. Because I feel like that's both what we do as people. I'm not going to say men because it goes beyond that, women as the same. But a little bit about me. And once I explain about me, you're going to understand why Alpha Influence Media and Alpha's in the equation. My name is Alundas Havens. I'm the owner of Alpha Influence Media with my partner, Zach Babcock, as well as the host of the Winner's Paradigm podcast. And then Alpha Influence Media is coming out with a second podcast for its own brand. So I'll have you on there as well in the future, brother. But a little about me. So from Fresno, California originally. Parents were young and dumb when they had me. So partying, doing crazy shit. I seen these things. They treated me like an adult from a young age. And really, I was that best friend that they would ask the questions, and it was just things that a kid shouldn't go through, right? So had a racist stepdad in the mix where just really challenged his views. Everything to him was ghetto. If I got a fucking design in my hair, then I'm a hoodlum. And it was just like, nah, bro, you're the parent. You're the one raising me. So if I'm not good at what I'm doing, it's a direct reflection of your leadership. So you can't tell me that I look ghetto because I have a design in my hair. But if you're the one, acting like this, saying crazy shit, it's okay. So I challenged all those things, got in a fight, moved away from home, got into the military, and really wanted to get away from my situation because it was me hustling, figuring things out, Going home on boot leave, even crazy shit happens. One of my cousins got stabbed 9 times when I was at the schoolhouse. So I was one of those, for me in the military, where I was like, man, I'm really grateful of life and not being home. But really, what that made me do is go back to that mindset, and recalibrate some of the things that I learned early on in, getting the things that you want in life, getting the girls, getting whatever it was, where you just keep getting to that point where you don't fill that void. So in my case, I was drinking heavy. I was doing all this shit that my parents did, and I said I wasn't going to do, but it was just my nature and the things that went into. So when I ended up getting in alignment and started dialing back, doing a lot of that personal healing and going through those things and getting aligned to my now business partner, Zach Babcock, who's my mentor, it was, bringing to that. So he mentions a lot in his business. It's Alpha Underdog Empowerment was his event. And he's always talking about, being the most elite version of yourself and really developing that. So in my case, when we went to Alpha Influence Media, it was a secondary portion of that brand because we split the two together. We wanted to be able to make sure that, hey, they have the production team, they take care of that side. And then I'm the other side. I'm doing the auditing. And if you need production, we got a team for you. If you need, Spotify ads, we got a team that can do Spotify ads and be able to link it back to your podcast, your website, whatever you're looking for. And then pretty short here, we're going to start doing some short form reels, TikTok videos to be able to provide more to our clients. So it was something where it was like taking that idea of what is a man, what is a woman, what are we as people, how are we going to be the best versions of ourselves? And then saying, that alpha version, like it's just you striving to do the things you say you're going to do, being that entrepreneur, that leader that sets that example for others to emulate.
All right, so I'm going to ask a tough question. First, wait, I'm going to try something. Give me 1 second. Let me see. This is hot. Our backgrounds, we're pretty small in our backgrounds. Let's see something. Now I look taller than you. All right, we're going to go back. All right, I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to do that to you. All right, cool.
It's all good. I'm short, brother.
No, listen, I'm 5'9". So,
shit. All right, then I'm 5'8".
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to see like what the differentials were if we wanted to do a bit more up close. But let's talk about this because I do want to ask. I think what might feel like a difficult question. You might have heard this before, but you find oftentimes in organizations that are about self-empowerment that their target audience tends to have a background that sounds a lot similar to yours, right? Where there is some level of abuse, some level of neglect, and the organization provides that sense of security, community, a home that the person may have not had, and the organizations tend to create membership that feels a bit cultish, that feels a bit like we'll do anything for this, right? You see this a lot in churches, you see this a lot in social organizations, you see this in membership groups, specifically those that support people that may not necessarily feel like they are engaging in their best self. So how do you feel as a person who has endured a background that, for all intents, it sounds really challenging, to be in an organization that does support you being your best self, but where there are other organizations in this ecosystem where you are the intended target, not necessarily the wanted member?
I love the way you asked that question, and that's something I'm going through right now. And I actually had to handle that with somebody. The reason why I say that is there's a couple organizations out there. There's a giant one that's probably the leader of these cult-like groups and amazing for networking. You know what I mean? As in the guru who leads it, honestly, I don't think highly of him. I'm not going to get into how I feel about him. You can do the research for yourself. But he talks a lot about this grind bullshit. And he doesn't talk about decompressing. He doesn't talk about being there for your family. He talks about you making it and killing it in your business. But at the same time, there's people in that group that don't look into their finances. They don't look into their physical aspect and taking care of themselves, eating right, making it a lifestyle. They're pushing their fitness to the side so they can dominate in business. I get it to an extent, but at the same time is, it's about what you want, So moral of the story was that guru, my business partner, they recorded 4 podcast episodes. These dudes are heavily invested in each other. My partner got out of his group because he wanted to work on himself and really do some more inner work. And the guru did not like it that easy, so wanted to tell him basically F off, but went extreme, right? So the guru, and this is 9 months later, decides that he wants to all of a sudden take a screenshot of what was on Instagram and post it so everybody can fucking see this, right? So everybody sees what's going on. My partner gets pissed. That's not of his nature. He's not that person anymore. Me and him resonate because he went to prison. He went through these things. So I flew out to St. Louis in July for his event, and we chopped it up, and it was awesome.
Wait, pause, because so what you're describing is a revenge post in order to weaponize someone's past against what they're manifesting right now.
Correct. So I'll say it plain because you can look it up. So all it was is my partner, when he left that organization, he said, "Hey, I'm going to go do MDMA psychotherapy. I'm going to really dive into this stuff, and I want to dive in on myself and healing this trauma." That's all it is. You know what I mean? He's going to a specialist psychologist that's going to be able to administer this and register it with him, so he can be able to have the therapy session after. He can journal it. He can be able to process these things that are fucking eating him up.
Wait, have you ever done this?
I'm going to do it in the future. So he actually got me really interested in that because he's done it multiple times. I think 3 times he said now. And then
because a woman that I know who I'm really good friends with, she invited me to a retreat. And that was the experience of the retreat. Now, it happened around July 4th, so I couldn't go because I had prior commitments, but she really came out of it with a very strong sense of self. She went with another friend, and she felt like it really sort of helped to bond their relationship in a closer way. And she felt like she walked out of it with a stronger sense of self, a stronger sense of purpose, and a reconnection with, this kind of interior version of who she is, which, to the world, she is, this sort of wonder mom, super successful, multiple business owner, but she was still looking for something. And so I think it's interesting because I had really never experienced it, maybe outside of seeing some TV shows around it. I think most recently there was one with like Melissa McCarthy that was like about going on a retreat or something of that nature.
Others just came out with saying about psychedelics too, so people.
Yeah, like you're doing it. Yeah, but no, she had a really. It's interesting to hear what one person will weaponize. There's also other people that get something really great in that experience, right? And I think a lot of it is defined by the person who ultimately runs it, right? Is this exploiting or is this enhancing, right? Like, is this something that people are doing, experiential, recreational stuff for in order to make them reconnect or connect with themselves? Or, are you just putting people in vulnerable spaces in order to weaponize their vulnerability against them? So anyway, I just thought it was funny as you're talking about what this guy was showing, that a friend of mine recently introduced me to this idea, and she had an amazing time. So your mentor sees this, I would imagine, this post that's happening from this, who we're going to call a guru. You haven't named a name. Please don't name the name because
no.
Yeah,
you can look it up. That's why I say
it's over. When this episode ends, I want you to tell me who this guy is.
Yeah, I'll tell you off record, but I'm not going to say it to everybody.
Yeah.
A lot of people like this, right? And so it gets blown out of proportion, right? So I'm talking to the partner about it. I've asked him and I've been like, "Hey, bro." In his case, his sister OD'd while he was in prison and dies. He grew up in group homes. He, OD'd before. So when he did that, when he used this, and went through that process, it allowed him to be able to heal from that. Well, the guru instead goes, "Oh, you quit my group to go do drugs and act stupid." So there's the weaponized part. So the guru says that, I don't think highly of the guru. I've heard a lot of people say this dude's shady, the way he acts and that, So I already know how I feel about it. I actually was going to join his group. And that was when my partner originally told me, hey, man, like, this is what happened. And he's like, it's up to you. If you want to join the group, you can. But I said, dude, you're my boy. Like, you helped me change my life. And I understand him on that personal level. So I'm like, why would I want to do that? So it was one of those, and all these people seeing it. So one dude from the group, who's actually good friends with my partner as well, asked me about that. And he was just like, hey, man, what? And I go, bro, all it is, and I'm not going to talk too much on it. I'm like, they were deeply invested in each other. He stepped away to that, right? Now this guru's upset. Another guru comes out at the same time and goes, hey, throughout everything, I don't care if you don't buy my shit no more. I don't care if you don't buy my courses. I will never turn my back on a prior client or a friend. That's it. That could have just summed the relationship and it could have been done. A squash beef. But it was something where that other guru, decided to try to one up and think he's the shit still. And then it kind of just went. And if you look at this dude, his track record, like his COO left him for that reason. They just didn't see eye to eye and the COO didn't like it. So it was one of those to where when I had that conversation with a friend and he was trying to get like all pick sides. And I'm like, bro, I'm just saying, like, to some people, that guru changed their life. In my case, my partner did. But you know someone's intentions when you talk to them. And that's where it's like, if someone's going to do psychedelics to be able to heal themselves and do that, like, why are you going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, I've learned with myself in cannabis and fucking journaling and processing the shit I need to. So it's like, how am I going to really do that in kind of feel one type of way towards one side, So it was like seeing it, realizing it, and then even realizing, like, even the people who want to dive into that, like, bro, that's not my business. That's not. I know this is the situation that happened, but dude, just be the best you can be because that's all it is. You know what I mean? Shit got blown out of proportion, and now we're talking about something that's really not anything.
Now, listen, I'm going to ask this because I'm going to sort of introduce the question that I asked before, and I understand the organization that you represent, so I want to give fair space for you to articulate how you feel about it. But a lot of leadership development programs seem like cults. And no, and let me tell you why. Because what you're describing, the amount of investment that the people that are in that ecosystem have around self-brand, around how they're represented, around the investment in the people that are aligned to them, right? It very much has that that spectrum between community builder and like development coach and like personal messiah, right? Like, and
no, I get you there.
No, right? And so in understanding that you're making choices based on who has helped and supported you, right? How does someone who knows nothing about this make determinations on what program to join? Like, what are some hallmarks? What are some characteristics of what might be a positive experience? And I'm going to caveat this by saying that no one organization can claim that 100% of people will have the same exact positive experience, right? That would be ridiculous. That's what diversity and inclusion is about. But what do you feel like are some of the things to look out for if you're considering joining a leadership program? And then, how does your organization support those same ideals for someone who's listening and who's thinking this might be something for me?
So I would say first, it's the investment, the money aspect. If you're there, do it. If you're not, don't do it. You're paying 300, 400 bucks a month. That's a lot to some people. In my case, I joined a separate group to kind of learn how that culture works in that. The separate group, that was one where you join into this group on a Wednesday. The head of the group will lead it on a live call, and then everybody either chats in there, and it's networking. So it was awesome was you get that. And this is where like when it goes to self motivation stuff is the woo woo stuff, so you get them to hype you up, and then, but the difference is they're not selling you on the course because you're already in the group. So you're hearing the message and you can take that motivation, be like, fuck yeah, blah, blah, but it was more about the community that's built, right? So in this case, with my partner, he started his own mastermind. And the difference there is just the intention of it. It's a group setting. So we're on a group call, all seven of us, and we're talking about these things. He's talking about his five pillars of life: relationship, finances, spirituality, or mind, body, soul, relationships, and finances. So he talks about all five things. We really go into it. There's one person in the group where she needed help with life. Shit happened in her business. She broke down. Everybody stopped and put a hand on her. And they were like, "Hey, sister, we got you. What is it? If you need help with this, we have a credit guy that can help you build credit for your business. We have a marketing guy. We can be able to do this." So it was awesome being able to be in that room and that. And I think that's the kind of part of it is knowing the intention, doing your research on who you're joining with and that. I know the larger group that I was thinking of, with that guru that we don't resonate with. The reason why I wanted to join that group was not for the guru. I wanted to join it because I have all my Facebook friends there. I have a lot of people I know who are in this group and say good things. But like you said, not everybody will have that. And another one of my good friends joined the group and he's just like, "Yeah, man, you're not going to like it." He's like, "Me and you are very similar people. And you're going to be in that group to network and meet other people. But you're not going to like what's coming from the top." So it was awesome, having that friend that had that experience because he knows me. And when I joined another group, I'm like, "Bro, I know exactly why you're saying that." Like, people can pay this money and you could be subjective and be like, "Oh, I love the message that you're putting in there." Or you can listen to it and be like, "You know what? They're just hyping us up for this call." And then it's really the networking aspect of the same people who are, making good money like you are that can be able to help you with business and further on.
So let me kind of sum up maybe some of the things that I'm hearing, right? So one is that that there should be an aspect of it that is different than maybe a pay to play model, right? And by pay to play, I mean that there has to be this financial inclusion in order for you to get anything from the group. At the very least, there should
Well,
be some element of it
yeah.
that allows you to understand what you're going to invest your money in before you begin to invest your money. Like, it shouldn't just be a pay first, find out about it a second. You should at the very least have some sense of what this group does in the way that they operate before before you invest in it. Very much like the stock market or anything else that requires investment, you have some sense of the inner workings of the return on investment, on referrals, right? Success stories before you actually do it. Another thing that I heard you talk about is building a sense of supportive community. So some folks in there might, is this fostering an individual experience where you're just talking to one person and you're not really getting this mastermind approach to it? Are you getting a support from people that may have multidisciplinary backgrounds that allow you to get diverse thought, diverse opinion that in a mastermind creates something that's greater than just maybe one person's individual thought, experience, or philosophy can be? And then lastly is that maybe you should get a referral from someone that's already in the organization that can give you a fair and balanced opinion about what's going on. If you only talk to the people that love it, then if you're in a segment of the group that may not, because maybe it is, super hyper positive. Maybe you need to be super vocal to be a part of it. Maybe that's not in your current personality type. Meeting a few people that represent the spectrum of personality will allow you to figure out maybe some idea of how you might fit into the organization at that time. Not meaning that you won't be different later on, but for where you are in that moment, is there a range of opinion and referral that allow you to figure out if you may possibly be a better fit for that organization than not? Is that a good summary? Is that?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's the thing, you got to do your research. You got to see the way that they're promoting it. I know one group that I don't resonate with. They talk about, oh, if you want to level up in business and in life, like, then you kind of know because you're hearing it versus other pitch. My partner doesn't do that. He's like, "Hey, man, we're helping you with mind, body, soul, spirit, mind, body, soul, relationships, finances. We're gonna dive through all five pillars. We're gonna talk about these things." Literally, the first call when we got into that mastermind was about, "Hey, look at this PDF. Look at what it is," and it was about building your 10-year plan and building. One of the questions on there that hit me deep was like, "How do you plan to die?" Do you plan to die of sickness, or do you plan to die a healthy life? How are your kids? How are your grandkids? How are your friends going to say, when you're on your deathbed, what is it? What is it? So it was awesome, seeing those things, realizing it, and being like, yo, this is what I'm planning out. In my case, I started the business 10 years before I thought I was. So I had to redo my 10-year plan and had to come up with something new. And then I even put things that may not be achievable, within that 10 years. So I can always strive to that and be like, yo, I'm one step closer to this. So
Yeah.
it's all about that community. In my case, I've talked to a lot of people in different groups, and a lot of people had good experiences, but they didn't talk to the head of the group. They went to a fly-in event. Flying events are the money makers. That's where everybody loves them because you get to have that in-person feel. You get a network, and everybody gets to feed that energy in that. I've been to them; they're amazing. So it's a different kind of feel for everybody. And again, if you're not going to those fly-ins, you're not doing all the things that go with those groups. That's where it could be difficult for some, where they're like, "Yo, this doesn't resonate with me," because they may not have it. Versus like another group where we're asking about all 5 pillars, and we have fly-in events in St. Louis. So if you made it out there, you'll be like, okay, cool. But if not, you already had the actionable steps. You have the 10-year plan. You have the 1-year plan. You have your daily non-negotiables that you do. So it's something that keeps you completely dialed in. And again, it's what works for you.
Perfect, man. So listen, we're talking about flying events. I know that you guys um, also have a really awesome sort of conference situation, right? Where people fly in and you guys are masterminding, you're workshopping, you're doing a lot of great stuff. So why don't you talk about that a little bit? Like, what's that experience like? What's the future of that look like for the organization? And if I'm listening right now, watching right now, why should I be excited to come to something where this many people are coming together in order to become their, like you said, their sort of best self, right? To walk in their alphaness. So talk to me about that event.
Absolutely. So we'll break it down from the bottom. So first, my partner Zach, he has flying events every month for his monthly group, Alpha Dog Pound. And what it is every single month, all the members in the group meet. So they'll fly into St. Louis to his house. So that's the cool thing, is you're at his house, all in-person event. Then he'll get a guest speaker out. So what they do specifically that's different on those monthly calls is they tear apart your business. So if you have pride, you got this ego thing going on, hey man, like you're in a rude awakening, because they're going to talk about marketing, they're going to talk about sales, they're going to talk about whatever. So he'll get different specialists of those fields that's able to do that. For instance, he has a copy. Last event was supposed to be a copywriter that was his guru that taught him, and the dude was going to fly in from Thailand, but unfortunately he didn't get the vaccine, so they switched it up. They went with a marketing scheme where they're like, hey, we're going to figure out how to be able to build you funnels or marketing ads in the next 90 days, you get your money back type deal. So
Yeah.
they were able to deliver on training you to be able to get better at those things. So it was all 5 pillars that we talked about, and then specifically marketing and sales. And jumping into this, my partner specifically specializes in copy, and being able to write headlines and pitches and offers, because that's what he invested in himself to train himself in. So it's awesome that he does that, and then quarterly they'll have Alpha Dog Pound Live. So that's where they're going to have, more. So instead of the one specialist being in there, and maybe 5, 6, 7, and that's where they're going to have the panel. They're going to go through, they're going to ask each individual person, hey, what do you need help with in your business? Where are you kind of at right now? So you get that. And then at the quarterly events, that's where he'll put you on stage as well, because they want you to get asked questions. So you're really digging in, thinking about it. And then that leads up to the annual event that we just had in July, Alpha Underdog Empowerment. And that's where, everything collectively goes in there, where there's bigger speakers. This was the first year. Next year is going to be crazy, because I already know a couple guys that are going to be there that I personally follow on the regular. So it's one of those where that, cultivating yearly event is going to be where you're literally learning everything. In my case, going to the one in July definitely gave perspective. It was different entrepreneurs that have made it 6, 7 figures in their businesses throughout different things. So we had drop shipping. We had a guy that leads the whole entire country in building garage doors and home appliance stuff. So he really had garage doors where he started off, Tommy Mello, and then he evolved into doing more like home improvement type deals. So it was awesome, learning these different things. He's amazing at building manuals and team building. So it was like you're hearing this guy talking about building the company, and we're hearing about traction, team building, manuals, how to train your guys. So in his case, like he needs to train his drivers on all the things to do, have a manual created. So if they were to get in an accident until an appointment, they know what to do. So it's all these different things that go into it. And I'd say that's what's different about this and what we're doing. Is really everything we're doing is we're being intentional with helping people grow at those limits, but then being able to put that personal feel in. So having those couple hours at that event where we're just networking, we're getting to know each other on the real event. We're having people go up on stage and talk about what they do. That was something I did, where I didn't want to get up and talk about my story, but went up, talked about my story, and then everybody gravitated toward me. It was like, hey man, I want to get you on my podcast. I want to work with you. What do you guys do again? And that's where, I slowly started to expand and have that following up.
Listen, the event sounds great. I am interested though in the name. So Alpha Underdog. Give me what that means for you, right? Because when you think of an underdog, right, that is typically the one that's not leading the pack, but ultimately the one that does succeed, right? That's the one that people are rooting for. The alpha people may or may not root for, depending on the style of leadership. So is it a range that we're talking about, alphas and underdogs? Are we talking about converting underdogs to alphas? Like, how did that name come about, and how does that work into the theme of the conference?
Absolutely. So originally, Zach's podcast is Underdog Empowerment.
Yep.
So that's where he was taking his story of being the underdog, coming from prison, try to work with people. They're like, fuck off. But when he starts making, the money and starts having these interviews with Andy Frisella and flying out Patrick Bet David, like everything started clicking for him. So in his case, like he shows that of all the process of going through it. And then the alpha underdog portion was like, he always thought of himself as the underdog, of proving everybody wrong. Well, it got to a point where he proved everybody wrong, but he was wasting time and energy doing that. He's giving everybody what they want and trying to prove them to where it's like he's not even being himself. So when he dialed that in on becoming the best version of himself and working on it, that's where he was able to build that alpha underdog to be able to say, hey, we are the underdogs. This is the way that we perceived it. We got to that point in our business, but now we're bringing that ultimate part of ourselves. And now there's nothing stopping us because this whole, proven motherfucker wrong type thing doesn't exist. What we're doing is we're literally fixing every single thing of our life so we can be exactly what we say we are, and then really having that community, having that mastermind, that we have accountability group, and we like call each other out on every single thing we're doing. So in my case, they're like, hey man, what didn't we tell you to do this the other day? And I'm like, you know what, I didn't do it because I had this going on, and you're getting that feedback. All right, this is what you can do better, and it's kind of evolved over time.
Got it. So do you see yourself now as an underdog or an alpha?
That's a good question. I'll say both. The reason why I still see underdog is because it's something I went through. You know what I mean? It's embracing that process. For me, I got out the Marine Corps, and when I was in the Marine Corps, I was 19, 20 years old, my own boss. So when I tried to translate that to paper and put it on a resume, I didn't get anything. I was getting entry-level jobs in doing sales, and it was one where going through the process, and it was like, bro, this isn't resonate with me. Like I'm a leader. I lead teams. I tell people this is how we can do when I train well. So it was, being in that and evolving, even starting my own business and being like, you know what, this doesn't resonate with me. Working 60 to 80 hours isn't for me anymore. So it really went into that and into leading and being like, yo, I'm the best I can be. The only person who can stop me is myself. I don't care what you're doing, what anybody else is doing, what they say, like it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant to me because they haven't gone through what I've gone through. They haven't struggled. They haven't had to sell their clothes to be able to make or get food, like certain things, So it was really tapping into that in my mind and being like, yo, you survived the rough of the rough. I was able to make it through to where now it's like I can talk about both things. You know what I mean? I can talk about being the underdog and being in the situation where I was struggling. And then I could talk about getting to the point now where it's like I got the own house, got a family, and it's becoming the best version of myself. Because again, like what am I going to do? Show my kids the wrong things that are going on, the wrong things to do, behaviors, or am I just going to really, man up and start healing what I need to and start filling in those holes where maybe I didn't have those things. And that's the hardest part to do, is when you tap into that inner self, when you start healing that, Even when you do a lot of work on yourself and you realize that, oh shit, something else popped up and I got to be able to work on this to get to the next part.
Yeah. So I've talked about this on this podcast with a few different people that were, kind enough to be transparent with me. And I'm super transparent on this also, right? So both my parents passed, I think by the time I was 12, I was an only child. Still had, support system, but ultimately sort of didn't really have a good formula for family, at least the version that I had, right? I had cousins and other people who I could look to what their situation was, or I had a set of grandparents and looked at what their situation could be. But I always felt this profound sense of, well, if a direct family wasn't meant for me, then I don't necessarily know how I'm supposed to build one myself. And it's something I'm still in process with now, right? But it's also allowed me to engage in conversation with other people that have had to work through their own traumas of their own childhoods, right? And so, what was it like when you had to determine that you weren't just going to be a father and a husband, but you were going to be, or whatever, right? That you were actually going to be a family man, right? That you were going to invest the time in the relationships with your children, with your wife, whatever, right? To ensure that you were present, but that you were present and contributing in a way that you may not have experienced as a child yourself. So, what was that sort of process and undertaking like, determining that you were going to be the role model that you may not have actually had?
I appreciate you for talking about that, brother. I know it's touchy, you know what I mean, and it's one of those that I've always went through myself as well. So I've just always felt like that. I've always felt alone. I'm 2 years younger than the older cousins, and then 2 years older than the younger ones. So I was the tough one. My dad was like, "Yo, you better fucking whip their ass if they fuck with you." So always fighting, went through that. My family didn't realize how bad I had it. They didn't realize how bad my parents beat the shit out of me. They were drinking. The racist shit my stepdad said. They thought he was cool. To add perspective. When I came home from boot leave, my stepdad thought my mom was having an affair. Pulled a 45 out, shot a centimeter away from my wrestling coach's face, and one of my uncles ran him up that day. First motherfucker to run out the room. And this was the dude when I grew up said he was so hard he'd whip my dad's ass for hitting my mom. Never did shit. So it was really like looking at those things. I used to go home, and the only reason why I got close to my cousins is because we would party and do dumb shit. And one day a fight happens. Her boyfriend gets crazy with me, and I kind of like, I knew I should have choked him out before the night because he was drinking Henny. He was like talking shit to my mom, and I was like, I want to choke this dude out, but I'm gonna be a nice guy. So he tries to fight one of my homies, and my boy does not play. So my boy hits him in the face, and then my cousins go to my family, and they're like, "Oh, Alundas's friend just jumped my boyfriend," and then my uncles roll up on me trying to act hard. I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here!" Like, you guys aren't. So in my case, they try to stir the pot. They try to do these things. I just didn't want that for myself. You know what I mean? I see my dad party. I seen the drugs as a kid. Like, I didn't want to do that for my family. You know what I mean? I was at one point in time, I was drinking a gallon of whiskey because I was being my own boss, accomplishing everything, rocking it in the gym. But it was like I couldn't process these things, and I can't talk to my family on that. I can't talk about how I went through an event because one of my uncles, was in rehab for meth, and some shit happened that changed my life with his girlfriend and her kids that they did something to me. So it's like I tried to open up about that recently, and they were like, "No, that didn't happen." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, you were on drugs. Like, how would you know? Because you don't even remember what you were doing then." So for me, it was really like all those things and realizing that. I bought a house. We posted it. None of my families came to my house, and it's that. You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh, you live 5 hours away. That's too far." Like, I'm not a priority in their eyes, so I understand that. When it's all love, I'm not anymore with the middle finger anymore, but it took me a lot to realize that I don't need to be better than everybody. I just need to work on myself. You know what I mean? I got to be the best I can be so I can be a leader. And if they have questions, they need anything, they can come to me. But it took a lot because I was always out to prove it. I was always out to show, what I can do. My parents kind of put me on the pedestal because I was that one, where they just didn't want me to fail, and I got the good grades and I played sports. So it was like they try to paint the picture, and that's how everybody perceived me to be. But in reality, they had no fucking clue what I went through. They had no clue that I struggled probably more than any of them, and translated that into being successful in life and accomplishing things for myself, to where like now it's difficult for me because they're doing the same shit. I don't drink anymore. So going around that, hey bro, let's get drunk. And I'm like, bro, that's not me. Like, I don't drink anymore like crazy. And if we do, I have one and it'll be sentimental and we can kind of bond in that. But I'm not going to be partying all night. Like, I got a family. I got to wake up at 6 a.m. with the baby. I go to the gym at 3. Like, I'm dialed in on what I'm doing. So that's why those things. And I think,
So talk to me, wait, hold on. Because you just said something that I think is really interesting, right? Like, so with all of that said and all of those relationships, like, how are you approaching communication with your own kids and your own family to make sure that they're able to come to you with the stuff that you weren't able to come to your family with? Like, how are you working on yourself to ensure that you are open and available to have the conversations that they need to have so that you ultimately have a better relationship with them than the relationship that you saw?
Oh, I love that, brother. For me, it's just challenging all beliefs. You know what I mean? I'm taking in everything. Um, why? Because I didn't grow up with the black side of my family. You know what I mean? So that was a big part of me. Like, not growing up the black side killed me because I'm running with Mexicans all the time, go around a couple people. I fought a lot because that was Fresno in the environment. But it was like not being able to do that. I had my dad I can go to for certain shit, and I had my stepdad I can go to for certain shit. Again, I knew not to get into politics with the stepdad because he's gonna say some crazy shit. He doesn't like black people too much. And then there's my dad on the other hand, who's just like, yeah, fuck that guy, and like going into it. So best of both worlds, but I learned that I couldn't be open. I couldn't express myself. I couldn't do certain things like that. I got my grandfather, my dad's stepdad was an Italian guy, and he loved the Rolling Stones. So I got a Rolling Stones tattoo for him, and that kind of added perspective because people are like, "You're a black dude with a Rolling Stones tattoo," and I'm like, "So what, dude? I can listen to any genre of music, and that's just me. It's who I listen to." Yeah, bro. Like, if you really want to know, like, I listen to Public Enemy, KRS-One, all this old shit, and that's what I like. You know what I mean? Because I grew up on that, even though I'm younger. So it was something for me. Like, even with my kids, like, I'm constantly challenging that. I'm learning about it. Definitely my wife and being married added a lot of perspective because her family, her parents kind of gave them certain things. And it's just like they act ignorant. And that's where me getting pissed from how I grew up. It's like I fucking hate ignorant people and I hate the way they think. But it's like that's a process. You know what I mean? They haven't learned on their journey to that. And it allows me to be more patient. For instance, my father-in-law and my brother-in-law got into it. Father-in-law was like, hey, if you're in my shoes, what would you do? I'd kick him out. And he was like, is that something that you think is a good parenting thing? Or is that what your parents did to you? And I'm like, that's true. My parents just gave up on me. They just kicked my ass out, figured the fuck out. You know what I mean? So it allowed me to be like, yo, I need to work on these things because I can't do that. I need to be the dad that can show up for them, show them, hey, what eating clean looks like, what doing that is look like, what not being shit faced and being abusive. Like my kids are never gonna go through that. So it was one thing for me to be able to realize that for myself, and that's why I'm real big on meditating, praying a little bit, journaling, because I'm able to take these thoughts or these feelings. For instance, like my wife this weekend went to go visit family to set up for our daughter's birthday party, and I was by myself, and it was like really last night feeling that like, yo, I really want to drink a lot, and why do I feel that way? Well, something popped up, so it was being able to heal that so I can be able to get through that moment.
Listen, I was on this pod with a grief coach, and we had this kind of sort of breakthrough moment about post traumatic success, that a lot of people are motivated by the things that they don't want and not necessarily the things that they do want, right? And it's interesting because the result of that can be really beneficial, but ultimately really toxic, right? And I think that is a lot of specifically for successful people. I think why triggers can feel so triggering, because you can ultimately feel like you've built this kind of safe space for yourself that is healthy and productive, right? But then the post trauma pops up, right? And it's like, all of this was built so I wouldn't have to experience that. Why am I experiencing that in this moment? and 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 what tools, strategies do I have in order to make sure that I can navigate this space that I might have buffered myself from for a while, right? And so, hats off to you for moving through that moment. Now, I do want to say this. So you mentioned this very sort of wide, diverse ethnic background. How are you making sure that your kids are fully aware and fully immersed in all spectrums of where they're from? Like, how are you giving them maybe the stuff that you weren't given when you were a kid? Like, how are you ensuring that they know, and not just know, can be proud about all of the ethnicities and races that represent them as human beings?
Oh, I love that, brother. And that's something when I went back to square one. My mom's family, her parents are from Mexico, and it's one thing that I take to heart because I feel like my family doesn't give a single fuck about that, and they're not grateful as they should be for where they are at. You know what I mean? My grandfather and my grandma had 11 kids, so it adds perspective. So that's where kind of that chip went, where I was like, bro, they fucking came from nothing in Mexico to come over here, and now we're just drinking, partying, doing dumb shit instead of actually being good people and being there for a family. In their case, I don't live in their direct area, so I'm not related to them. Okay, so it was learning those things. For me, for instance, like my best friend that I met in the Marine Corps was a black dude, and it was awesome finally because it was like I got waves for the first time in my hair. I was 19 years old, got waves in my hair. I didn't know that. You know what I mean? My mom never took the time to be able to do that. The only time that she learned about a black person was we're at the mall and there's this girl with the fro, and I felt so embarrassed. My mom walks up to her and she's like, "Hey, what do you put in your hair?" I'm trying to warn her about my son, and that was the only time. And got in the Marine Corps, I had a black girlfriend, and I like didn't want to tell my mom. The girl kept pressing it. Hey, tell your mom about me. And my mom's like, is she ghetto? And the girl was like heartbroken after that. And I'm like, bro, that's the way my mom fucking thinks. Like, you think because I'm black, she would accept that, but it's not. So it was really learning those things. I always knew at a young age. Like, luckily, when I was in preschool and I was already dealing with racism. This one kid, I wore Vans one day. He was like, black kids don't wear Vans. So I took him, I threw him at the wall. My mom's like, why? Because that phase, I was like, I learned Tony Hawkins. I thought he was pretty cool. And I wanted Vans. So I got Vans. And I go back the next day. And my mom's like, what the fuck? So I told my dad's like, you better fight that kid. Get there the next day. And he's in a white tank top with red shorts and a bandana on. So it adds perspective of, people saying things and how they're acting. So that's
Yeah.
when my mom was like, "You're not the ghetto one; they are." And in my case, it was not being able to experience that, not being able to have those conversations. Luckily, my dad warned me at a young age that you're going to be treated differently. People will. And I went to two predominantly white schools, so learned that pretty damn quick. That some people will look at you differently, they will treat you differently, and that's like what I take on, for my whole philosophy and challenging people when they say certain things. It's like I'm like, oh, really? You think that way? Because it's one of those where people don't realize those things. In my case, having the best friend that I'm like, yo, talking about these things too, and I'm like, hey man, that's it. Got around his family, and I'm like, all right, I'm not different. I act a little bit different because I grew up with Mexicans and that, but I was like, at the same time, it shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't matter about that. Why are we so invested into it? But a lot of people like to put time in negativity. And what I'm gonna do with kids is just be open with them. Be like, hey, if you're going through this, if you feel this way, and kind of just let them know, like, yeah, we don't have our black side of our family. My grandma had an affair, and the whole family try to act like it wasn't is what it is, and they treat us differently. And it's just like that's all right. You know what I mean? It's okay that they do that. Doesn't mean I need to be a dick about it and be fighting everybody on it. It's just that's where they're on their journey, and I'm not gonna, entertain that.
And I think it's also important that um, that we that we allow people to kind of discover the the beauty of who they are without a lot of our own personal biases attached. Now, give me an example. Like I have cousins, and half of my cousins are Caribbean. My dad's Dominican. I grew up with my black family, um, right? But something that was interesting that happened is when I was younger, I didn't want to speak Spanish. I grew up
Yeah.
in New York. It just wasn't right. That wasn't my thing, right? Um, but I realized that it was also because I was internalizing what other people were telling me about what it meant to be one thing or another, right? And what it sounds like you didn't have, which I didn't have, I think only due to me not having immediate family, right? So I was kind of on my own, like figuring out life. Is a safe space where when the world can't see you for who you are, then you're able to come home and distill all that out through people who have lived a little longer than you that can help put things in perspective, right? And so without that, all we're really left with, I think, is competing thoughts around trying to fight what other people want to define us as opposed to allowing ourselves the space to self-determine, self-discover, right? That there is absolutely nothing wrong with um, liking the Rolling Stones and liking DMX because they're not mutually exclusive, right? And in a world where you realize that they're not mutually exclusive, you start to realize that it, that your life is made fuller, larger, more diverse, better because you're not confined to just having to only be one thing in the world, right? And I think that that's what's beautiful about what I think you guys are doing over at Alpha is supporting people in their personal business with like the pillar. I mean, their personal lives with the pillars, and then with their business, because you're not just one thing. You're not just an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur that's going to have a family. You're an entrepreneur that's going to have survived trauma. You're an entrepreneur that may not understand every aspect of your business, but that doesn't make you incompetent, right? And so when we start to embrace the multifacetedness of who we are and what our lives can be, then I think we ultimately become happy, and that becomes our truest way of being leaders, right? Alphas for the sake of this conversation, because there is going to be a segment of people that feel just like you. Like, I never really felt accepted. I never really felt loved. I never really felt embraced. But I'm watching you stand in that for yourself and be proud of who you became. Therefore, I want you to talk to me about how that could work in my life, right? And so I can see how fighting against that labeling, and even if it took a certain amount of negativity for you to get through it, certain amount of fight, certain amount of whatever, right? Being able to do it for yourself, to do it for others through the organization, and then in part to do it for your own kids. You should really stand and be proud of yourself as an individual for being able to really have agency in your own life and in your own business, man. So congratulations.
I got one more thing to add real quick, and it really caps that off, brother.
Yeah.
So, talking about that small-minded, belief system. Sometimes, like people have that, So I met this dude at a mortgage brokerage, Filipino dude. What's funny is I used to date a girl that's from the same hood he is. So I used to be at those parties. Almost got into it a couple times because they were like, "Yo, you Filipino?" And I was like, "Nah, man." And they came up closer to me. "Hey, you Filipino?" I said, "Hell yeah, where's the lumpia?" So
I mean,
I
you sort of like,
yeah.
if I had to guess, I would have
Yeah.
slightly said Filipino, but people come to me speaking Spanish all the time, and I feel really bad when I'm like, I don't speak Spanish, and you look at me like, why not? And I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So I get it. 100% get it.
100%. So with that dude, what's funny is when I got the tattoo, I had a panic attack that night. My wife's like, "Why are you having a panic attack?" And I was just like, "Someone's gonna tell me some crazy shit, and I'm gonna want to fight them because I don't want to hear it. I hate hearing racist shit because it just flows. So exactly that. I'm there. This one white dude looks at me and he's like, "Hey, bro, I like your tattoo." He's like, "You got a couple band tattoos?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And I started talking about the significance why. I was like, "I'm in love with Deftones. I actually listened to them, and it helped me get over, my dad being abusive, and I started standing up to him. So last time he ever laid his hands on me, I was listening to that shit and I just snapped. You know what I mean? I was like, it's go time.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those where it's like I may get my ass kicked, but that's what I stand for. So this dude looked at me and he goes, "Oh, so the black folk don't like you much." And in my head at the time, I was like, "Yo, I want to fuck this dude up," but I had to realize for myself, like, "Yo, this is a public setting. I can get fired." And I was just like, "You know what, man? Old me would have done it and got into it with you, but I was like, I'm gonna say enough that I love you enough to say I'm not gonna do the shit I want to do to you." And dude just looked at me and was like, "Yeah, whatever, man." You know, I thought it was funny, but I was just like, bro, like, why do we as people need to say that shit? Why do we need to label it? Kind of like when you do certain things, like, oh, that's white people shit. You're like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, so what does it mean if you like that? Now we're just singling our own people out on how they feel and express themselves. When from the get go, we already have problems expressing who we are, but we want to constrain it even more. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you could just broaden that, you know, like I have a Blink 182 tattoo as well. And that was one of my friends, and that was his thing. He loved fucking Blink 182. And I'd be like, bro, why are you putting this shit on? He dies. And I'm like, you know what? Their music's not bad. You know what I mean? And then I start liking them. So it was one of those for me where it's like sometimes perspective hits you differently at different times. You know, it's all part of the journey.
Say it ain't so. I will not go. Turn the lights off. Carry me. Nah, nah. All right. I'm a Blink 182 fan. Anyway, all right. So, so I think what's interesting about what you're saying, right, is it harkens back to the opening of this episode, right? Because a lot of leadership groups, a lot of organizations, societies, religious groups are really expressions of us, and in their usness, there's also them.
No,
right?
100%. I got kicked out of a youth group for that.
Yeah, right. Us versus them, right? And I think as as we are engaging in other ethnicities, nationalities, races, right? We start to also think and assume in us's and them's, right? And so people are like, "Oh, you're more like me than them," right? Good example. I have this very black pillow behind me on both sides, right? And it's not because I'm trying to make any other statement than the fact that um, you can be proud in who you are, but also not diminish anyone else, right?
No,
Like I can
I
be
love that.
happy in who I am without diminishing another person. And so, you know, it's when confronted with that type of, you know, well, you know, that race is doing that or that person is doing that, you know, um I think I've learned to choose the path of like sympathy, right? Because it's like, man, your world must be really small. And I feel sad that you have to exist in this small world, right? And I'm so fortunate that the universe, God, whatever, saw fit to not let me live in the same small world that you live in, because it would have been very easy for me to live in the same space that you live in. But only by some random selection, by some good fortune, by some great people that probably shouldn't have taken a chance on me but did I become a better man than the man that I'm talking to in that moment, right? So when I get confronted, right, I think recently I was leading a call and I was like, yeah, you know, I'd like you guys to draw the programs. And someone said, "You mean as in dresser or as in art?" Wow, that's crazy because you're fired because you thought you were being funny, right? And even moments I think where people try to weaponize things like articulation and speech pattern, where people try to weaponize clothing, tattoos or not tattoos, right? When people are trying to use those things against you, you realize, and this is something that you said earlier, is it's all about alignment, right? And it's like, if that's who you are, I can't align myself to you because because I am going to be open about who you are and about your life story and about your choices and about your agency. And if I can't get the same in return, then we're no longer looking at each other as human beings. We're looking at each other as transactions.
No, you're
Right?
100%.
And it's like I want to transact with somebody. I want to connect with people, right? Like I don't want to sit on a podcast for an hour, talking about somebody's, you know, click funnel system. As much as that would be great for a different person, and I do have those conversations.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
right here is a safe space for me to talk to people like me about life so that people like us can listen to it and get some form of healing, clarity, understanding, camaraderie, whatever, right? So we can talk about the business part and it's going to be mentioned, but it's always going to center on us as human beings because we've only had maybe one conversation before, but I feel like I've talked to you for the entirety of my life because I hear a lot of my story, but I also sense a lot of your transparency in this conversation, man. And that is to be respected and acknowledged and appreciated above all things.
I appreciate you, brother. And to add perspective, like I said, my best friend's black. He's gay. So it was one where I didn't know this dude was gay. We fucking deployed together. We knew each other for like a year. I didn't know he was gay. He kept that shit low key. And it was kind of sad, fucking when he told me, well, he told me straight up, probably how he told me is not how he would tell anybody else.
Sure.
But I was tripping the fuck out. I'm like, bro, I'm so stupid. I couldn't check this out. And then I started thinking, I'm like, bro, I'd see the baddest girls on the planet go to this dude. Like, we went to Mardi Gras together, and he's just passing them to me. This is before I got married. But it added
You
perspective.
better put that in there. You better add that part of it.
So
I saw what you did.
yeah, so it added perspective for me because I was like, bro, he has to change who he is for who he's around. You know what I mean? I went to gay bars with him. Like, that was cool. You know what I mean? I guess there's nothing more straight than a gay dude hitting on you. Like, nah, bro, I don't swing that way. All right, cool. So for me, it was like learning about the culture, but taking the time to be able to know those things and to be comfortable, have those transparent talks. And it was like a lot of things me and you were talking about, me and him talk about, So he's like, when you feel like this in America or that and feeling attacked, he's like, and I'll ask him that, like, bro, how do you feel about this certain thing? You know what I mean? Or how do you feel about this? And he doesn't get into it, or he will. But it definitely gave me perspective because I'm like, bro, homeboy says how he is, and then now people don't like him because of his preference or that. Like, it doesn't fucking bother me. I can care less what he does on his free time. But the fact is like a lot of people think that, and that's where this like whole, kind of like the Black Lives Matter thing, like people blow it out of proportion. They forget that we're just saying that we're not treated as equals. And it's not just us. There's tons of other people in this country that are treated differently for who they are. But that's the matter of it. It's just pointing that, not for you to fucking go and be like, oh, we need this, white people. And like, no, you guys have all American history. We need to tell American history how it actually is, how we came back from the war. We didn't get no house. You know what I mean? And I'm like, our own people did, but you don't know these things unless you research them, put the time in, you talk to the people who know those things.
And man, it's important because I think, right, like the worst thing that someone can do, and the thing that often happens, unfortunately, right, is that people that are unaccepted create a narrative of unacceptance for everyone else in their life, right? And so there is almost nothing that a person can tell me that they are. Very different very different in what you've done. Because some things that you do are choices. Who you are is core to your being, right? So there's nothing that someone can tell me that they are that changes my opinion of them. Because in essence, all you're doing is giving me more information. All you're doing is trusting me with something more, right, than I had before. And there is a version of a person who was never accepted that then decides that they will never accept, right? There's a person that never had that becomes a thief. Then there's a person that's never had that creates a charitable organization or that gives to the homeless, right? Like there's a version of you that chooses to double down into what was wrong, and a version of you that says, I'm going to do what wasn't done for me, right? Like I'm going to accept the person that doesn't feel accepted. I'm going to embrace the person that never felt embraced, right? Because in doing so, Alundas, I think we also heal a part of ourselves, right? Because when we're able to give acceptance, validation, support, right? We also affirm that we actually have the capacity in ourselves for it, right? And that regardless of what happened to us, that it still didn't change our ability to embody those sorts of principles.
No, 100% agree, brother. And what's funny is you mentioned that. And this is the thing that doesn't make sense about my story. My stepdad, his ex-wife was black. So it was weird hearing that because he didn't say that until like probably 5 years into being married to my mom. No, no, not well, they weren't married. So they're probably together for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh yeah, Don. And at first, like I didn't know. I thought it was like his high school girlfriend.
Yeah.
And then we found out that that was his wife.
Yeah.
Because the grandmother had the picture of him and his ex-wife on her counter, and she like wouldn't get rid of it. And I was just like asking him. So I'd ask him things. He would slowly say it. You know, he would try to say that his ex-father-in-law, who's black, would say certain things, so it gave him validity to. But I was trying to figure out like, how were you married to a race that you don't like? Like that's where it clicked to me. So I was just like, what happened to made you not feel that? Did you not feel accepted? But he would never answer those things. But it was something that I realized is like, hey, maybe he was rejected from that. So he thinks of people this way because he may have been the only white dude at the cookout or something. And now he's the one who feels singled out. And I'm like, okay.
The opposite. Wait, I want to challenge that idea, or the opposite, right? We know that really heinous things are never about what they actually are, right? So
exactly.
A great example is rape is about power. It's not about sex, right? So it's possible to occupy a space that you hate because it informs the part of you that needs that negative power, right? So people aren't going out raping because they want to have sex. People are going out raping because they want to exert power, right? And so and I'm not saying, I'm not comparing the two with your
no.
What I'm saying is that
100%.
there's a reality where I engage in the thing that I don't actually love because the empowerment and engaging in it is actually that I hate it, or actually that I think it's beneath me, or actually I think I can exert some level of control over it, right? And so, you know, you see that in weird children-parent relationships, right? Where you're like, why did you have kids if you talk to your kids that way, right? And it's like, why did you do this if you don't have the patience to talk to human beings as human beings? Why would you have kids? But then you realize that there's a segment of people who for them parenting is about power and not about nurturing, right? And so it's interesting how many negative, right, abused people tend to find abusers, and you're like, but why wouldn't you do that? You think you would find the most non-abusive, comforting person, right? But it's like
you attract what you are, not what you want.
You attract what you are, or you attract what gives you a sense of what you believe your truest self to be, right? So if you believe your truest self is to be abused, then you ultimately seek out abusers. If you think your truest self is to be to need to exert influence, then you may have kids if you can't influence adults in the same way, right? So man, I hope healing for him, man, and everybody that's involved. But listen, let's end on talking about who, if they're listening right now and they're like, man, I like what this guy's talking about. I like the journey that he's discussed. I want to work through some things in my life and my business. and I want to be in a space where I can just be authentic and honest and true about who I am. Where are they going? What's the social media sites? What's the website? What's the contact for the person right now that's like, I want to dial in to what they're doing over there?
Absolutely. So easiest way, two ways. Social media, Alundas_Havens, and then my podcast, The Winner's Paradigm. You can be able to go to my website, thewinnersparadigm.com, and we jump into those things. We talk about these things. I'm all about recalibrating mindset, so I like to challenge people, talk about the things me and you do, because some people may not like it, but it allows us to work through those things as people collectively. You decide what you want, but it gives you that power, that you may have not had, that research.
Yep. All right. And then what if I want to come to one of these drop-ins, fly-ins? I want to be down with the Alpha Influence Squad. Like, I feel like that's something I want to get into. How do I find that space?
Absolutely. So you can message me on Facebook. I'll probably say that's the easiest, social media. Hit us up. Facebook, you can go to me, my partner, Zach Babcock, and then we have our COO, Tim Holloway, where you just message either one of us, message me, and then we'll connect you with the details and send everything to you.
All right, done. Listen, I love this. I have two questions I ask everyone who has ever been on Man versus Brand. The first is, on any streaming platform or really any medium, what's something recently that you watched that you have thoroughly enjoyed?
You know what? I don't watch TV, but I did watch. I don't. I cut it out a lot for me. But here's the failure point. I cut it out so much that I couldn't connect with my wife. So one of her love languages is quality time. So she was watching Stranger Things, and that's like the first show I've seen in months. Like, I've been wanting to watch a Batman movie, and I still haven't. I really loved it. You know what I mean? I kind of like the theme and the growing up, like very symbolic of other things we watched. You can kind of see it's predictable, but it was a really good show. I like that.
And that's dope, man. I think that's important. That, especially in relationships, man, that you understand that that there are points of connection that you need, right? Things that you share that may not be tied into business or the greater scheme. It's just for the recreational enjoyment of it. I'm a big Stranger Things fan. I have very little time to enjoy very much else. This is why I ask what other people are watching, so that me and the audience can key into some different stuff, right? Because we're all busy, we're all out here, but we also, all need to just know what else is happening in the world, right? What other folks are watching and enjoying, and at least on a streaming platform, everyone hopefully has equal access to it, so they're able to see it and able to enjoy it. All right. So I typically ask, what do you enjoy that no one knows that you enjoy? But we already talked about a bunch of musical choices that you have. So I'm going to ask you this: What's a podcast, aside from your own and Man versus Brand, that you have recently listened to that you really, really, really enjoy?
I'll say this: it's one of the girls I met at one of the events. Her name is Tracy Taylor. She has a podcast called Egocentric, and I've really been digging it. I like to dive into psychology, but she talks about the difference between your ego and id. So kind of how, like, we suppress our emotions and we cope. That's id. But ego would be like, I'm the best I can be. Giving yourself the affirmations, developing who you are from those things that happen. So in my case, like, growing through it. So it's been cool learning about it. I may not like everything she says sometimes because she unpacks it. That's how psychology is. Like, you're like, I don't think that way. Fuck, I think that way. So it's been awesome kind of challenging my own beliefs and being like, you know what, you're right. Like, it is, we may think that our ego is protecting us, but that's not our ego. That's our id, because we're building up these walls to build that foundation. The ego was the reason why, we went out and we carried out what we do and why who we are. So it allowed me to kind of like learn what is our ego, because there's a lot of misconceptions about that. And people may think like ego is not your amigo. No, that's not it. You know what I mean? Yeah, there is times where ego can be negative for you, but there's a lot of times where ego is the reason why. Like, your brand, that's your ego. You know what I mean? Your brand is appealing to what you're looking for, and people don't realize that.
So give me that podcast one more time in her name.
Tracy Taylor, and it's Egocentric Podcast.
All right, cool. Listen, guys, if you are watching this episode or you're listening to my voice right now, I want you to stop this, pause this, go to the Winner's Paradigm, go subscribe to it, follow it, listen to it, come back to Man versus Brand. I know you guys are over here, so you guys love me. Go show some love to Alundas and what he's doing over there. And make sure that you're checking it out, that you're listening in, that you're keying in to other programs that are having very similar conversations. Alundas, I appreciate you for being on the podcast. Thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for letting me and the audience work through, conversations around leadership programs, talking about ensuring that you're a good fit for a leadership program, figuring out the types of leadership programs and what those qualities should look like, and really going through just your own experience from starting life to now, and how you've been able to navigate that through childhood, through the military, through building your own family, now building your business and building a life that's worth having. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. I hope to be on Winner's Paradigm soon, and I definitely want you to be on this podcast again. So hats off to you, man. I appreciate your time, and thank you guys for watching and listening.
Thank you, brother. It was an honor.
Thank you. Later. All right.